John here with you. It is June 12th, 2019. It is just Wednesday early morning here. I have the Game 5 recap of the NBA Finals up and posted, as well as the play-by-play. And for those of you that didn't see this before or don't normally look at this because I haven't done it in a while, normally after I do the play-by-play and the game recap, I want to do a post-game analysis like that too to get you the wall-to-wall coverage of everything. So the way that this works, we're going to talk a little bit about Game 5 of the NBA Finals, some of the hit and miss of what ended up happening, and then just get my thoughts and analysis in there with yours as well. If I see some of that stuff come across Facebook, if you want to leave questions or anything else, just let me know here. So let me get this put up here pretty quickly. So I'll try to have some of that story in front of me and some of these other things in front of me just in case some of these comments come across. So as we get along here, it is the Golden State Warriors staving off elimination of the NBA Finals in Game 5, winning at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto in hostile territory. 106-105 your score. And first of all, we would talk about it normally. That would be the lead header to the story and the most important analysis that we can put. But Kevin Durant stepped on the floor for the first time in over a month. You know, that right leg, the MCL injuries, a lot of the other injuries that he had going around in that same leg and everything else. It was finally time for him to shine, but unfortunately it only lasted for about a quarter. He'd looked very good early, connecting on his first three 3-point shots in the first quarter. He ended up with double-digit points. He was on pace for 44 points when he was going out. And in that second quarter, he tried to get around Serge Ibaka, get around the defense. He started feeling pretty good. He was trying to make a cut, make a crossover, and the leg gave out, and he fell baseline. And I know a lot of you out there, you can talk about some of the stuff in Toronto, and it was just unwelcome, and the fact that some of the fans were cheering for Kevin Durant getting injured and all that, and the players were able to quell that down from both sides and get the reaction appropriated. But this wasn't one of the times that I would look at and I would be absolutely disgusted, as a lot of you probably would initially. I'm thinking, if that's pretty much any opposite player from any other NBA fan at this point when you're this late into the game, fair or unfair as it may be, I would expect these fans to react that way because they want to win so bad. And I'm not sitting here saying that it's correct, but it didn't surprise me at all. So what did surprise me after the game, however, was Warriors general manager Bob Myers. Now, he took the brunt of the blame for the Durant injury, and I didn't think it was fair for him to do that, but if everyone wants accountability these days, he certainly put it on the brunt of his shoulders, and I do respect that. But when he talked with Brian Mahoney, and some of these quotes from the Associated Press is where I got this stuff from, and when I do these mock write-ups and all of that, always first to credit who end up getting these quotes from, because it's not me going out there covering some of this stuff, but I do like to write about and do some of the play-by-play as I get that from ESPN and all of that as much, so I credit that throughout the story. But when you're getting some of these quotes from Bob Myers, you think about it and he says, I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand the way the world works, and if you have to, you can blame me, because he goes, I run the basketball operations department. And he went on to say that Durant is one of the most misunderstood people. And I think a lot of us, as we go along here, we appropriate what we might think about Kevin Durant, after being up 3-1 in the NBA Finals with the Warriors coming back and then him having joined the team the following season. But I think some of that stuff gets misunderstood, as Bob Myers went to go on to say. He said he's a good teammate, he's a good person, but it's just not fair, anything that ended up happening to him. So we didn't know this at the time, but it's gone on, and it's probably thinking a little bit tomorrow, probably within the next 8 or 9 hours, that it's going to be an Achilles tendon injury, and Kevin Durant most likely, obviously he's not going to return for this series, the rest of this series, but more than likely he's going to be out pretty much from the next 10 to 12 months with an Achilles tendon injury. So to me, It was not only having the Warriors have their back against the wall, but seeing how they would come out, especially to start the second half, with the loss of one of their brothers. And not to mention, this team is, completely banged up along with the Toronto Raptors, and that's a separate issue that we'll get into shortly here. But it would be interesting to see how the Warriors would come out there and operate in the sense. And they did end up getting the job done. And what they ended up doing was closing it out with the guys that pretty much altered their franchise in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So Thompson goes out and says, even going down with down by 6 with 3 minutes left, we don't panic. And it's back-to-back-to-back three-pointers from the Splash Brothers that ultimately get the job done. There was a goaltending that was on, DeMarcus Cousins that was ended up called, and there was some criticism at the point in the game where Kawhi Leonard passed out of a shot and Fred VanVleet tried to shoot from the right wing corner, and he missed the shot. But there was also a point in that game that I want to talk about with Nick Nurse and the Toronto Raptors, and a lot of that has been appropriated now by the shows that just passed, whether it's, PTI Around the Horn, all those things like that, all your daily get-ups, things like that. Talking about that Nick Nurse timeout with just around 3 minutes to go. Now, if you look at it, and you Monday morning quarterback it, and you say, why the hell did Nick Nurse take this timeout? There was a lot of momentum going the Raptors' side with Kawhi hitting back-to-back threes, nailing a two, getting 8 straight points, getting the Raptors on a run, getting them a 6-point lead with 3 minutes left to go. But you have to look at it in one of two ways. You either say, A, Nick Nurse was completely messed up in the head for changing the Toronto Raptors and changing that momentum, giving the Golden State Warriors in turn in this sense, because you're going to lose the timeouts at 2 minutes. You're going to get down to two timeouts instead of what you could have had left. Nick Nurse called back-to-back timeouts. But in sense B, he calls these back-to-back timeouts because it was isolation play that got the Raptors 8 straight points with Kawhi Leonard. It's not only nursing a knee injury, it's banged up a little bit, even though him banged up is still getting you pretty much 30 points every other night, even since being down 2-0 to the Milwaukee Bucks, going all the way now into Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Kawhi Leonard and the company now recently, but Kawhi Leonard has carried the Toronto Raptors as much as he possibly can to an NBA title, and they're right on the precipice of it. So in that sense, I do understand why Nick Nurse would use those timeouts to try to get Kawhi Leonard and company especially a chance to push ahead and possibly win an NBA title on Monday night. I get that, but a lot of you guys are going to, Monday morning quarterback that and say, why did that end up happening? But that was a key point in the game, but I do not blame Nick Nurse for the timeout situation of why the Raptors lost. The Raptors lost because Klay Thompson and Steph Curry somehow, even though they're the best three-point shooters on the planet, continue to find a way to get open with good ball movement and screens and that to hit dagger three-pointers to win the game. And you're also, having a dog that's heavily wounded but not completely dead yet going out there fighting for its life and winning and staving off elimination. You have to give that in sense of a heart of a champion. Toronto's not out of this. Now it's 3-2. They still got 2 games to close it out. And now Kevin Durant will not be back for the rest of the series. You have to believe at this point Toronto should be able to close it out on their own. If they don't, it's not going to be just that singular moment in time that you call out and say why Toronto lost the series. They shouldn't lose the series at this point, being 3-2 with Kevin Durant out. They should have every chance in the world to be able to close this out and get the job done. So it shouldn't be over yet. DeMarcus Cousins, I thought he played pretty well, especially, getting more time off of the bench with the Durant injury. And basically, Kevon Looney, I don't know what's wrong with that rib cage or whatever else he's got going on there, but Cousins, 14.6 rebounds for the Warriors. Kawhi Leonard, he paced the Raptors, 26 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Kyle Lowry, 18 points. Marc Gasol, 17 points for Toronto. And once again, the Raptors are going to look to close out the job on the road at Oracle Arena on Thursday, the 9 o'clock Eastern, and then, if necessary, Father's Day Sunday, Game 7, 8 o'clock Eastern. So there was a couple things that I want to hit as far as afterthoughts with everything else going on here. So you have Kevin Durant, and the injury is basically what everybody's going to talk about. And that's what I'm going to talk about here. I'm not going to, kind of reinvent the wheel. We need to talk about Durant in the sense of, his comeback when he looked pretty good early before he went down. But now he's going to be turning 31, I believe, in September here. I have it. Okay, so 31 in September. He's coming off multiple injuries to that right leg. And I have to really throw it out there. I don't know if all of you are going to agree with this, but is it really time now for Durant to be concerned about his legacy, improving anything else? Because I know Colin Cowherd made this argument on his show before on the Herd on FS1, and some of these things that I've thought about before, because I've wrote some of these articles before talking about some of the best NBA players and where they'd be ranked, and a lot of us like to do that from time to time. But if you want to say this right now, maybe I can grant it to you that you throw out bigs. You can't count, Tim Duncan or Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq, to be able to change the way some of those rankings end up working. But if you take that out, if you take bigs out, take power forwards and centers out, can't you already say that Kevin Durant is a top 10 player in the NBA right now? If he retired today, wouldn't he be a top 10 all-time player? I don't know how you can argue that. There's no way he wouldn't already be considered that, wouldn't you think? And at this point, I know that there was a lot to be said about Kevin Durant going to the New York Knicks, right? Supposedly the rumor is that he's going to join Kyrie Irving. They're going to join forces, and the Knicks will finally have, fans to give them some excitement because they continually just trade their best players away. With Kristaps now going to the Dallas Mavericks. But be that as it may, with this injury, obviously to Durant, it changes the landscape of what free agency is going to be. Hell, you got two of the biggest free agents right now in the NBA Finals in Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard itself. But what's going to happen with KD? Who's going to take a chance on him? Will the teams offer him as much money? They probably can't offer him as much money considering what maybe some would think that Durant is right now, which is damaged goods. But I would think right now at this point in time when he's going to be turning 31 here shortly in just a few months, he's got to stay with the Warriors. And Bob Myers has pretty much gone out and said before he's going to do whatever it takes to go above and beyond that salary cap repeater tax. He doesn't give a flying F as far as any of that stuff is concerned. He wants to go ahead and keep, the fans at Oracle, keep himself, keep his team, keep everybody entertained winning titles. That's all he's really ever concerned about, unlike a certain Tom Gores here with the Detroit Pistons. Bob Myers wants to win titles, and Kevin Durant at this point, I think as expectations now change with the injury, Kevin Durant at this point needs to go through all this rehab, reconstruction once again, go out there, get on the court, and just play ball. Get stuff done. What better chance would he have than staying with the Warriors, staying with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? Now, I'm not sure whether or not the Warriors are going to be able to afford DeMarcus Cousins. Will he go out there and try to get his money now that he's healthy? I can't blame the guy if he goes out there and does it, but you still got Klay, Steph, and Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant can just go back to focusing on basketball. I mean, hell, you look at it from the other perspective in Kawhi Leonard, the load management between 22 to 25 games for Kawhi Leonard, that's what he needed. Because going into this NBA Finals, especially being down 2-0 to the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, banging up that knee going out there, he needed the time to heal. And now he's sitting there banged up a little bit, still dropping 30 plus every night. He's going out there getting the job done. Durant, in that same aspect, is going to need that time to heal, At this point, being 31 and Kawhi being a few years younger here, do you want to go out there, have to pretty much play 40-plus minutes a night for a certain free agent team that you select, whether it be the Knicks, whether it be the Clippers, Lakers, whoever you want to throw out there? Do you want to go out there if you're Kawhi Leonard or Kevin Durant? Maybe a little bit different for Kemba Walker being able to play second fiddle. But a lot of these guys out there, DeMarcus Cousins, do you want to go out there every night yourself, play 40-plus minutes just to get a W? Look, I know it's NBA basketball, and a lot of people even make this argument for the NFL and things like that, even though the season is a hell of a lot shorter. You get paid to play a child's game. Look, I understand that argument, but at this point, it's a job, and we want to see all the best players out there at their highest priority to be able to play when the light shines the brightest. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that, whether the NBA likes it or not, I think Adam Silver has done a good job of understanding this. You need to have guys go out there and, in this load management era, be able to save themselves to play at the highest moment. And I think that's what the NBA needs to do. And that's what I want to say going forward here. Because whether or not this can happen, it probably won't, because with the NBA and the games, you got your 82-game season. You shorten any of those, you're taking money away from the NBA execs, Adam Silver, the business, all that stuff right like that. But basically, coming in, stemming from this 2015 NBA Finals and what we're seeing now, with Kawhi Leonard the last few years with the injury with the Spurs and Zaza Pachulia, and now Kevin Durant, I'm getting tired of seeing guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love in the 2015 NBA Finals when the Warriors pretty much had a cakewalk and it was Matthew Dellavedova and LeBron James. I'm getting tired of seeing high-profile guys like Irving, Love, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant getting hurt. You need to see these guys within this last few years. This stuff has been happening within this last 3 or 4 years. And it's definitely an issue. It goes beyond just the normal wear and tear, because if it wasn't for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm not sure if I've ever really heard of load management. But that's the stuff that's going on. And whether it's the best of the best or former MVPs, from Derrick Rose, Brandon Roy, Bill Walton's feet, I get this stuff isn't going to change. And as far as if you're a general manager, you're an NBA exec, you're probably going to go out there and throw the players out there because that's how you keep your damn job. To be able to have them get some wins, have your team to be able to do what it, does what it does, go out there to be able to get the free agents and get the wins. Because if you don't have an attractive destination, if you don't have the players, if you don't show you go out there and have the wherewithal to win, you're probably not getting some of the better players on your team. And I understand the way that works. But how long is it going to take before something actually gets done? And does it even matter? Will it even happen? And hell, if you want to, you can extend this out to all the leagues. In the sense of NHL, we're watching this between the Blues and the Bruins and some of these brutal hits. You have Zdeno Chara with the face mask, and suspensions left and right from time to time. Not supposedly in this series, but from time to time I've seen throughout the NHL as well. How long is it going to take before we see these guys in these games without having to battle through all these injuries? Look, I get it's a grind of the regular season, whether it be 82 games, you get the 16 weeks in the NFL, or the 162 in Major League Baseball. But as fans that want to watch these sports, we tune in. Even if it's just the casual observer, we tune in to watch the best players play at the most high-profile moments. And as far as Adam Silver is concerned, I know he's talked about that FIBA international style tournament. There's no way in hell that stuff's going to end up happening when you have these NBA players already going out there playing through the Olympics, playing through extended NBA Finals games, and then going out through tournaments in the off season as well. I don't see that end up happening, and I don't appropriate the way that a solution can be made. But if you want to go ahead and you go through the G League, the Gatorade League, the Development League, whatever the heck you want to call it now, if you want to have one of those guys, one of those players, if they do pretty well and they get a guaranteed roster spot, that might be a little interesting to me. That might give them a little motivation to change the way things are right now. But in that sense, there might not be a lot of answers as far as being able to shorten the season and do it effectively, because it's going to cut the dollars out of people's pockets. But at some point, you're going to need to have and see something happen. So, and maybe in that sense, before I even move on to the next thing real quickly before we close this video out, maybe in that sense we can stop these NBA Finals from taking so many days to get to the next game. I get travel and all that stuff too, but the reason they're doing it is to keep all these guys healthy and have them playing. But maybe the best course of action would be to shorten the season so that way it can get appropriated and happen that way. So Game 6, we're going to see it Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern, and Game 7, if necessary, is going to be in Toronto, and it will be on Father's Day, Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern. So with the Warriors staving off elimination, it is 3-2. The Raptors are ahead in the series in the NBA Finals. Who you got? And also failed to mention throughout this article that Draymond Green did pick up a technical foul. So one more for him, and he's suspended for a game. So you got to put that in the romper there, because the Warriors don't have a lot of guys that are exactly healthy. And I granted, you can say that on both sides, but that's also something they have to look at. So who's got the advantage now? The Warriors stave off elimination, but Toronto's still up 3-2. Let me know what you think. I'm going to get this posted here on the Shout Engine and YouTube, and then we're going to have the complete wall-to-wall coverage as the write-up and the NBA play-by-play has also been posted. I'm not entirely sure if I can get to Game 6. That might be a day after, because I got a couple of days to work and stuff this week, but I do want to get back into it, because as I notice now that I can get NBA Finals recaps on ESPN, I was more than happy to do the play-by-play and get some of that stuff in there, because I sure, damn need the practice to be able to do all that. And when I don't have time, when I'm not working, I don't want to sit here and go stir crazy and do nothing, because I feel like a complete bum. So we got to get some of this stuff in. It was fun to do, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out, everybody.